When arguing with one another, people sometimes get caught up by using fallacies without knowing they're using a fallacy, use fallacies without knowing what they are, or knowingly use one to distract the person they're arguing with. In fact, that is what a fallacy is. It is a faulty reasoning that is used to mislead an argument. There are many different kinds of fallacies that can be used. The two that I am most familiar with based off personal experience are red herring and non sequitur. So first, red herring is typically used to distract the listener from what the problem really is. According to Logically Fallacy by Dr. Bennett, who holds a PhD and is a member of the American Psychological Association, states that a red herring is basically redirecting the argument so that the person on the other side of the argument gets confused as to what they're even talking about anymore. A good example of this that I found on the same website is a friend asking their other friend why they cheated on their spouse when it is morally incorrect, and that friend responding by asking, well, what is technically morally correct, and then the friend getting distracted as to what their conversation was even about in the first place. Usually you'll find red herrings in mystery books to mislead you from figuring out who the villain actually is, or sometimes you'll hear a politician use one when they try to avoid a question. This next type of fallacy is Latin for does not follow. Stated in the article Non Sequitur Fallacy on ThoughtCo, written by Richard Norquist, a former college professor who writes college textbooks about grammar. He says and states in his article that a non sequitur is basically something that does not follow logically prior to what was said, which is also known as irrelevant reasoning. A good example of this that was on the website is the topic of warming, saying that warming was once caused by fluctuations in the Earth's orbit, so therefore it is not caused by mankind. What that statement is saying is that warming cannot be caused by something else if it was once caused by another thing, when in fact it could be caused by a different occurrence later in the future. It is not always going to be the same thing that affects it. Non sequiturs are most commonly noticed when an absurd remark is made or words like therefore is used, and that is to create an alter decision. So although sometimes it may be hard to avoid fallacies, or you may accidentally slip up and say one without even knowing it, it is important to know what they are and how to avoid them, because it's easy to lose credibility and make an argument sound illogical.